Good. And I think we're good to go. So
Think we're
I'll give
good.
the
I'm
and
just double
and
checking. I just like to see us on Facebook
sure.
just to make sure. And that way, if anyone comments, I can
Oh, right, right, right. Me
be
too.
on there.
Me too.
Okay, okay. And I'll edit this bad boy out.
I'll give you the cut and then you
Deal.
know,
All right, Facebook. Are you there?
I
All right,
see
we're
it.
just gonna trust it.
I can see
Computer's
it
just being
on
weird.
I can see it on my Facebook end, so I think that
Okay,
we're live. I think that we're good.
deal.
Okay,
All
awesome. And hi,
right.
Melissa, and welcome, Gina, again. All right, so I'll give the cut here, and then Nat, I'm going to throw it back to you for opening. Okay, you
Okay.
ready?
Mhm. All right. Hello, hello, everyone. We are into the final day of our Epic Wellness Week. We've had seriously an amazing week. I feel like every single conversation was so different, but me and Dr. Bradley have been, it's like a renewed sense of inspiration every time we get to connect with a different people or a different person and just, hearing more about people's stories and how they've navigated you know, their own personal care and just, yeah, learning more about their experience. And so before we dig in on with Gina, she's our special guest for today, Epic client, and we want to kind of pick her brain a little bit about, what it's been like receiving personalized care. But before we get into that, I just want to review, what we've kind of covered earlier this week through our Epic Wellness Week. So on Monday, we did an overview of the Epic 5 diet. So we talked about, why things are included within that and also why certain things aren't included in that. And we chatted about the big whys. So really digging deep into why you are looking to make some changes and what those changes, how that will affect you and affect your health and life journey moving forward. So that was day 1. Day 2, we had Dan and Dr. B chat about the wheel of belief. So, digging deep into also like false limiting beliefs. So, how, negative or false beliefs can really, really affect, our thoughts and feelings and actions. And there's a lot that goes into that. So, that was day 2. Day 3, we chatted about meal planning, meal prep, kind of shopping. We shared a week long meal plan that I had created a little bit ago and just kind of again chatted through some ways that we could make the week ahead easier for ourselves by prepping things or doing things right when we get back from the grocery store. There was a lot of different things within that. And finally, yesterday, we chatted about smarter goals, and that conversation was so much fun. And yeah, we just chatted about, how to make your goals smarter. So, evaluating and readjusting as necessary, and how important it is to be mindful of where you're at and consciously reflect on, not only what isn't working, because like we chatted about yesterday, a lot of us, it's easier for us to kind of focus on all that's not going well, but it's really important too, on the flip side, to consider, okay, maybe not everything is working out, but what is working and what can I, tweak or change so that I can be more successful in moving forward with my health goals. So we've had an amazing week,
It's been
and
inspiring. I think
it
that's the
really
word.
has.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better word. I know I've said that a couple times, but really,
Yeah.
especially after yesterday, our Epic client Robin had made a comment about the difference between inspiration and motivation. And Dan and I chatted about that a little bit this morning, and we're definitely going to use that as a motivational Monday topic at some point. And yeah, we've had so much fun this week. And again, we're excited to have Gina here, and we just want to chat more about, what does it mean to receive personalized care? So within Epic, initially coming in, we've got blood work that we'll do initially. So, blood, stool. We can also look into hormones and heavy metals. And there's just so much that we're looking into to really
Foods,
understand,
foods,
yeah,
genetics, leaky
food
gut,
sensitivities. There's
probiotic
so much.
microbiome. I mean, neurotransmitters. I mean, I
Exactly.
think if there's a
There's
if
so
there's a
much.
fluid if there's a fluid or a sample that we can take, we've probably taken it and tested it,
Yep, we've got hair samples for different things. There's a lot going on, but
Yeah.
it really, the point of it all is to get to know as much as we can about your body specifically
Yep.
so we can personalize and tailor your care plan to what's going on inside
Yep.
your body, whether there's deficiencies or toxicities or polymorphisms. There's certain genetic things that we need to consider. And there's so much. I always geek out about this because the initial review is so fun to me. Just the first time when people, get all that information, and I know it can at some parts, be overwhelming because there is so much to know. But again, it's just going to help you in the future because you're learning more about how your
Right.
body works and what's going on and what you can do to optimize your health and feel the best that you can feel. And yeah, go ahead, Dr. B.
I was just going to say, I always tell clients when we first, are meeting that we're going to find more out about your body than you even realized that there was to know. And my party joke on this is when people ask me what I do, for a career, I say that I solve problems that people don't even know that they have. And of course, that opens up a whole floodgate
True.
of questions,
Right.
But that's what it feels like. I mean, it's
Hmm.
fun doing medical detective work and
Right.
helping each person out, at that hyper personalized level where no
Exactly.
two individuals on this planet that I've found yet, and I've worked with thousands and thousands at this point over
Right.
21 years, I have never found two people with exactly the same, issues with
Hmm.
exactly the same lab findings, and exactly the same presentations, So it's a lot
And
of fun.
yeah, along with that, so of course the labs are a huge part of it, but within the program as well, we have
Right.
workshops or one-on-one meetings with the health coach, and I really like how we've kind of broken it down. And of course, it took us a while to, figure out the proper flow, and things are, we call it kind of the ever-changing world of epic functional medicine, but we're just trying to make it better for everyone involved. But we've found a way to kind of break down all of the pillars of Epic 5. So we've got diet, hydration, movement, sleep, and stress management. And so there are so much. Okay, again, the labs are super personalized, but even within those workshops, we give, you know, a lot of information. Again, it can be overwhelming, but we want to give you as much information so you can make the best decision for you and your life and your body. Because, like Dr. B said, with the labs, nobody is the same. Everybody is different. And even within those 5 pillars, still everybody's, implementation of that is going to be completely different. And so, we really try to work with you and inquire things out of you so we can help you figure out what's going to work best for you. And I think that's a perfect segue to chime into our special guest, Gina, today. And initially, before we get into kind of the personalized piece, I'd love to just hear about,
Yeah.
what kind of inspired you to, how'd you find out about Epic? What inspired you to dive in and give it a go? And yeah, then we'll go from there.
Well, it's I think I found Epic maybe on Facebook. I don't remember, but it's local to me.
Yeah.
And obviously Dr. Bradley's my neighbor.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured all that out right at the same time. Um, but I was aware of functional medicine before that and was working with somebody else. And the more I learned about functional medicine, the more I realized that that person wasn't quite doing it because I was hoping for like what you guys do, which is the personalized plan and the goal to get off all of supplements and medication and do it with food and whole life as the picture. And I wasn't really getting that. But I had been sort of on this journey to try to find Dr. Bradley or a person like Dr. Bradley, which found there are not very many of them, and we're fortunate to have found him. But I will just tell you a little bit about my story and history and kind of what led me to that is
Mhm.
I was in a PhD program in 2011 and writing my dissertation. Very stressful time. We had had a puppy for like I don't know 6 or 8 months, and she slept with us, so woke me up a lot. So I had some sleep issues, some stress going on, probably wasn't a great diet. I was
Mhm.
living in the Central Valley in California, which has lots of agriculture and dust and environmental issues and things like that.
Yeah.
And I started having seizures at night,
Mm.
which just like it threw my whole world out of whack when your body starts
Yeah.
doing something that you feel like you have no control over and also
Mhm.
there's no explanation for. um,
Right.
it's really disorienting. So yeah, I saw neurologists, but nobody could really give me an explanation like, oh well, we don't know what epilepsy really is, something in your brain, we kind of know what
Mhm.
seizures are, maybe it's some electrical storm in your brain, figured out, maybe the origin point, maybe, but we don't really know. You don't have a tumor, so here's some medication, go live your life.
Yeah.
And that was really frustrating for me.
Mhm.
um, And I kind of felt like there had been sort of a build up to it with my stress. And I was starting to understand my body and feeling like I could sort of feel them coming a couple days. Like I wasn't having them every day. It'd be maybe a couple a month, and they were nocturnal, but I could feel like going into it for the couple days before, I'd be like, there's something building, and then there's some release that was the seizure. So, and that was, well, it's almost 10 years ago now. So I spent a while, finished my dissertation, had a couple kids, had a job, and then finally we moved to Iowa, and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom for a while, and just sort of really kind of dig in on me and start to like figure out taking care of me, and not be on the seizure medications, and then just like, what can I do? So I looked into just like everything I could possibly find, seizure related, food related, all the kinds of things. I found the keto diet, which was originally developed to help children with epilepsy. So I was playing with that to some degree. I got a Muse device before I met Dr. Bradley. So I had been using that to calm down. Yeah, a few different essential oils to help. Some supplements. I was off seizure medication by then as a non-compliant patient, because I could not find a neurologist to help me get off or help me resolve, like, why did they start at age 28 when I had no history of anything? Like, there's no real obvious brain issue. Like, why? And then I was at a keto conference in, I believe it was February, like a couple weeks before I found Dr. Bradley. And they had a health panel, and I got up and asked a question because there was a woman on the panel who had reversed her mom's cancer. She was a doctor, and with a fasting ketone number ratio relative to blood glucose. And I wanted to ask about that, and ask what would be an ideal one for assisting with brain function. And at this point, I had been about a year seizure free with all my other techniques, but I obviously didn't want them to come back. So I was just trying everything. And she said, she's not a neurologist, but she said that, really, we could induce a seizure in any person on this planet. All it takes is essentially a perfect storm of maybe environmental factors and stress and whatever's going on in your body. And I had never heard anybody or read anything or anybody say that to me. And it was empowering at the same time as it's, sort of out of your control, but also not, because if it could happen to anybody, then there are things that could maybe be reversed to bring my seizure threshold down. So I just felt like, okay, well, maybe me as a person, my seizure threshold was lower, higher, was more likely to be hit than maybe other people in the population. But if it wasn't being hit until I was a certain age, then I could, reverse it. And I was a year into no seizures, but felt like, okay, now I can take some more control and do some more things. So I found Dr. Bradley like right after that, and started working with him. And I had some thyroid issues going on too that the previous functional medicine person was helping me address, but I was on basically normal medication, which I didn't want to be on anything. I don't want to be on anything. I can't remember to take it all the time. I want to do it with lifestyle and food and those kinds of things. And so that was one of Dr. Bradley's goals for me right off, was we're going to do these things to stabilize you now. And then the goal is to not be taking everything. Have that green smoothie be your multivitamin. If there's some things you have to do for a while, great, but we have a goal that was consistent with my goal. And I got lots and lots of labs. I didn't have a Hashimoto's issue, but I did have anti-nuclear antibodies as an issue, and I've reversed that since. I think I was negative on my last labs, which is great.
Let's say that again, Gina, because that's medical heresy that you just said. Once positive, always positive. Say that one more time, loud and clear, for the people in the back.
I had positive anti-nuclear antibodies in my first set of labs, and 6 months later they were negative. So I reversed a lot of things. Once you have epilepsy, you always have epilepsy. And I'm 25 months seizure free right now. Awesome. So I have still not had another one. I have just realized the feelings that I had that I felt like were a seizure buildup, I recognize those as more of an anxiety thing. It's more stress. So now I have tools to reduce those. My Muse device, I exercise regularly. I go on walks in nature. I wear my blue blocking glasses if I'm around screens. We even got a projector screen and a projector and a screen in our basement for our in media viewing.
Cool.
Because I noticed early on that a TV, the direct light coming at me and the way that it is was something that would raise my anxiety at the time versus a projector screen. Like I went to a movie theater and realized the light source for that screen is actually the projector. It's not the screen itself. And that I can handle, whereas I can't handle the TV that's the direct light.
Right.
And it's not as big an issue now as it was then, but things like that, just finding the ways to biohack your way to what works for you. And that's a huge part of what Epic does as well, is little biohack tricks, Muse device to help you learn how to calm your brain down.
Exactly.
Like I like to listen to the little birds chirp at me. If I can get my brain to chirp some birds, that's goals,
Absolutely.
I love it.
all those
so
things.
good.
But
So good.
so all my labs are heading in the right direction. I was really low in iodine, of course, which I'm sure lots of people are, but got my water on track. So those kinds of things.
Woo!
Yeah, I know. It's always
I love it.
there.
Yes. Cheers, everyone.
But it's the whole person approach was what, and whole person, also individual person, also here's all these tools, pick the ones that work for you. That is what works for me with Epic. Plus all the information, because I could never find anybody to give me all that information. Like there's nobody can order all that stuff. They could, they don't know to, they haven't done the research that Dr. Bradley has. So and I was finding people that were saying, get this lab from your doctor, get this and this. And then I'd have to fight with my doctor. Can you please run vitamin D? Because I know I'm always been low.
Right.
Oh, that's another thing. My vitamin D's always been low. It's, I'm lucky if it's in the 40s. I think I had a 50 once, but it's usually like the 20s or teens, which is scary. And I think it was around 20 when I first ran my labs with Dr. Bradley, and it's 76 on my 6-month labs, which I've never seen.
Awesome.
So going into coronavirus and having that number was reassuring because there were some ties with vitamin D and all that stuff. So
right.
Anyway,
so good. I love it.
Stuff, but
And there's, like you said, there's so many moving pieces, and it's, I'm glad that, again, initially there is like so much information, it can feel overwhelming, but really we do it like you have experienced it, thankfully, to empower you, because you do, like, we just want to give you all the resources, all the tools that we can. And I'd love to hear about, so we kind of chatted a little bit about, some trial and error in figuring out what works for you. And I know specifically, kind of the de-stressing was a big part for you. And just curious, like, what were, how did you go about, trying some things, and maybe how long did you try it out before you're like, okay, maybe I need to try something else, or was there anything like that? Just tell me about your experience.
I think I added in things until I got the seizures to go away. And then I stuck with that for like a year and at least. Another part that was really big for me was CBD oil, not from marijuana plants, because I grew up in California in the Emerald Triangle. There's lots of pot around, and THC does not agree with me. I had panic attacks when I tried a CBD oil that still had THC in it. So I got CBD straight from hemp, so only CBDs, and that was a big threshold jump that I made with that. But I just added everything in until I got them to go away, and then kept it all for like a year. And I've stepped back on some things, like I don't use the essential oils as much anymore. I still use my Muse device on and off. I'm not as regular with it as I would like to be. Another one I didn't mention is tapping. And I don't remember the other name of it, but you tap on certain places in your body in a certain pattern, and essentially give yourself a mantra and explain to your body, I love you. You're doing this is happening, and I don't like it, or not I don't like it, but like these things are happening to me. These things are happening to me. I choose to have these other things happen instead. essentially the pattern of those. There's a lot you can research, but that was a really helpful one, because my seizures I would wake up at night about 90 minutes after going to bed, right before they would happen. But I would wake up, and so I'd have about 30 seconds to do whatever I could to stop it. I felt like, and maybe you could, maybe you couldn't, but the tapping, I could sometimes calm down or not have one be as severe. So that was a huge one, and I don't do that as much. I really should, because you can use it for anything in life. Yeah, Dr. Bradley, did you want to say something?
Well,
Looks like you wanted to say.
I was just talking to a friend of mine that's a counselor, and she gave me a new tapping technique. And there's so many different ways to do it. And I mean, there's like probably innumerable ways to do it. But she said something really simple that people can do when they're having a good experience, a happy experience, something where we have all those good feeling.
Tap it in.
Just tap it in. Where it doesn't even matter, where you're tapping. Right? And then when you're finding that, but you have to do it. It's not just like once, right? It becomes this thing where the tapping gets associated with those feel good chemicals, right? So it's a consistent, pattern of behavior. And then when you start to have one of those icky feelings, whatever it happens to be, it doesn't have to be a pre-seizure, prodrome, just feeling icky. She said, just try it and just try tapping, and you'll see that feel good chemistry is going to come up in your body, because your brain associates the tapping with that feel good chemistry. I haven't been doing that long enough to tell you that whether or not that works, but I love the simplicity of it, and I envision these days, instead of 72% of Americans being on, psychological medication, I envision a day where we're at office meetings.
They're all just doing.
We're at office meetings, and we're all just doing these things. So.
It's good though. I'm so intrigued by tapping. So I've started what's called EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a mouthful. But within that, we do incorporate tapping, and the one we do is bilateral stimulation. So I'm, tapping on both sides of my body, whether it's like this or tapping on my legs. And it's interesting, and I need to do more research on it, but there's, research too that it helps your brain to form new positive connections, especially, and that's why it's so important to tap when you're like thinking happy thoughts or you're in that happy moment, because you're reinforcing to your brain like to continue making those happy connections. And I just think it's so cool. I'm so fascinated by it. Yeah,
I love anything that we can do that's simple and free. I mean, we don't need a special tool or device or a person or any. It's like something we can do anywhere on the planet. I love it.
And the cool thing with like mindfulness meditation, but also just relaxation techniques, is it's interesting to me how, we can condition our bodies and our brains to return to that state of calm. So by using the Muse device or practicing, when you're not super stressed, practicing those techniques to, just acknowledge and bring yourself to that state of calm. Then when you are in those super stressful, overwhelmed times, your body, you've already been practicing this, so it'll be easier for you to, again, just kind of bring yourself down. And I just love the fact that we can condition our bodies and our brains. Like it literally is a little biohack to, I just think it's so cool. I love it. Oh my goodness. Well, I'd love to. So
we all just geeked out there for a minute.
I know. I'm like, we should get back here. No, but it's cool. And it's, I mean, if anyone doesn't know about it, like you said, that's a free tool that, you can do whenever you want.
And you probably can't do it wrong. That's the other thing. I don't think there's been any, I was doing okay until I started this tapping technique, and then everything went downhill after that. I don't think that's
exactly.
No, I found it, I think, from a documentary called Try It on Anything or Try It on Everything. I can't remember the exact title, but I believe it was Nick Ortner did that documentary, and they had like 10 people come to a house and just stay in that house for like a week and learn the technique, and they each had something they were working on, and only one person essentially quit and didn't want to do it anymore. And I think his issue was smoking, which is, there's more levels to that with an actual addiction going on too. But everybody else like had headaches, got better, like all kinds of different things. It was really cool.
I first learned about tapping from Joe Mercola. Back before
cool.
he was Joe Mercola, when he had his practice in Chicago, we would share patients every once in a while. And I actually just talked to his wife, Erin Elizabeth, this morning, which is odd. I didn't mean to bring that up. It just came up. But he said that he's always had a psychologist, psychiatrist in his practice. He's not practicing anymore, but when he had a private practice, and he brought in this new psychiatrist that did EFT, emotional freedom technique, right? Which is a type of
Yeah.
tapping technique.
Mhm.
And Joe was writing about it in his blog. This is back when he was just blogging and Mercola.com was just getting started. And, so he said, man, I feel like we can get more done in 10 minutes, 10 minutes with EFT than 10 years of therapy. And then a little bit later, he said, I stand by my original premise that we can get more done in 10 minutes than in 10 years of therapy. And, I think that's a pretty bold statement, and like I said, he's a pretty bold guy and is Joe Mercola for a reason. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh, it's just incredible. And yeah, there's just so much that we can do to support our bodies. That's not, I love that our community is growing because I just want people to know all that they can do to support their body without pushing medications on, which again, there's some can be good for certain things, but yeah,
I always say there's a time and a place, right? There's a time and a
right.
place. And yet I always say the good doctor, and I don't mean me. I hope I'm a good doctor, but I don't mean me. I mean the good doctors that are out there. They're the ones that are helping folks realize that, hey, whether you're on a medication or a supplement or whatever, bioidentical hormone or, whatever digestive enzyme or whatever it is, the goal is let's get you off of that stuff, right? What can we do to stabilize your system and then wean you off of X, Y, and Z? Because I call those things crutches and nobody wants to be on crutches the rest of their life. However, big asterisk to that. The deeper I get into genetics medicine, the more I realize that we can flip those switches on and off, turn the good genes on, turn the bad genes off, with the right nutrients and the right load of nutrients. But again, they're going to be highly specific and highly personalized for each person.
Right.
Yeah. And back on the personalized note, I will say when I told my mom that I had found tapping, she was like, oh, hey, Dr. Gina, who's a friend of ours that I was named after, she told us about that like 5 years ago. So there's an element to the timing in your life when you find some of these things. Like if you're not ready and open to this crazy tapping thing, like it's not going to come in. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to help relieve your stress. And me having a seizure thing, like that was a big, like, I will do anything. I will try anything. I will find anything. I will keep looking. I will, pay as much as I possibly can, like whatever it is that needs to happen. But it was a time in my life, like I didn't pay attention to it before certain things happened until, and then found it on my own and told her. And, it's a timing for individuals.
I know that you said that you're fortunate that you found us, but we're fortunate that you found us. I just want you to know that we love you so much. And I'm just so glad that everybody in this group has found us. Natalie said it, very clearly that our mission is to help make this world a happier and healthier place. I mean, that's all it comes down to, by empowering each single individual to realize that there are tools and resources that are out there. I hear the suffering of the masses. I mean, I hear it, it's palpable, right? And there's just so much that we can do. And I have yet to meet a case that we can't crack. And I don't mean we at Epic. I mean, I do mean we at Epic. Let me say that. But you know what? I have a rock star team. I don't know what to say. I mean, I work with some amazing people. So I mean, our team is amazing. But I mean, really, the tools and resources are out there. And I hear people still asking questions like with thyroid, some basic stuff like, my doctor keeps pushing up my levo, but I'm not feeling better. And, and they tell me that it's in my head and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just want to like grab that person and hug them and say, it's going to be okay. There's hope, there's help, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you're in the tunnel. If we even are this close that we have that connection, you're so close to the solution, just DM me if nothing else, we'll help you figure it out. So anyway.
My mom used to say, the light at the end of the tunnel is not always a train. And I just think that's funny. And like, there's hope. And again, this community I think is so cool for just learning. I mean, like we've mentioned a handful of times, everyone's experience is unique, but at the same time, like everyone's going through something. Like we can connect. And I'd love, Gina, to hear too about how is it just felt personally to like, get so much information on your body and I think in our society, it's almost a little bit countercultural to put yourself first. So what was it like to do that? And yeah, that's my question.
Um, well, in a word, it's empowering
Yeah,
if you're willing to let it in and
right.
use it. And I'm a mom now. I have a 5-year-old and a almost 7-year-old. Her birthday's a week from tomorrow.
Ah,
So it was hard for a while going through the early motherhood stuff and trying to figure out what was going on with me. And the main reason I didn't want to be on seizure medication was because it's not good for babies in utero. So I quit before, but without help, of course. But it worked out, obviously. But it was a big shift. I had to figure out that if I don't put me first, even if it's just marginally first, then everything else that cascades down is going to suffer, including my kids, including my husband, including just my general life. Yeah, and really working. And so learning this, I'm glad you brought this up, learning what kinds of things I had to do to put me first. And the moment that I really realized that was, sorry to get political, the 2016 presidential election. That evening, I'm been raised very liberal, so that evening, seeing the poll numbers, and it was looking like one person was going to win. And I was staying at my mother-in-law's house because we were cleaning our house, and my husband was in Canada fishing. So I had my 2 babies in this giant bed with me with railings and everything. But we saw those numbers. I went to sleep, and I had a seizure that night with my kids in the bed. And it was completely tied to the stress of what's going to happen to this country in the next 4 years. And I don't want to alienate anybody, but those were my feelings. And from that point, I for just about the next 4 years, severely limited myself on what news I would let into my brain and my eyes and my house. And there were some things obviously that got through, but I had to make the decision for me. There are things in the world that I do want to have an impact on and I need to care about, but I cannot do that right now. And and take care of my kids, even though I want to do the things for my kids. Climate change is a big one for me. Like, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of the social things, but I had to it cannot come into me because I cannot deal with it now. I have to cut that to get my stress, my body healthy. Then I can participate and do those things that I want to do for the world and for my kids. And I slowly this last year started letting some stuff in because I was a year and a half into seizure free in that. But there's still days where I'll be like, oh, that's on the news. Okay, I'm not looking at Facebook. I'm not looking at Instagram. I'm not turning the radio on. I'm not even going to listen to a podcast today. I'm going to read, do my workout, go for a walk. That's all I'm going to do. Those kinds. So that was a big one for me to realize there are things I want to do for the world, and I can't because I have to take care of me, or I can't do anything. So,
I hear you. It was that same election for me that I literally just shut down with politics, especially. I've been a very politically active person my entire life. I've been asked to run for offices. And I always say that's not my bag for sure. But I used to write for a political magazine called The Rebuttal. And I used to write, oddly enough, political satire, which is a lot of fun to write, by the way, because it's like
I bet.
full liberty to write whatever you want because it's a joke, and everybody knows it's a joke. And I had a column that was political satire in The Rebuttal for a number of years. And then that magazine folded, probably because they hired people like me to write for them. But nonetheless, I've always been very actively involved with politics. And it was that same election where it just got the vitriol. I mean, to be as apolitical as possible, but like, the campaigning got really ugly and the messaging got really ugly. And I would love to make a joke that thank God over the last 4 years, we pulled ourselves together and it's gotten better, but you can't even make that joke because it's so bad. It's like even worse now than it ever has been. My folks were staying with me. I think that you guys know, for the last about 5 weeks or so. They actually just made it home. My dad was recovering from a knee surgery, and just needed a little extra help, and they're close to 90 years old, and yet at the same time, completely independent. But it was nice for them to be here. And they are news junkies, and so 24/7 we had something on in the background, and just I honestly just
Can't
about
do it.
lost. I just about lost it a few times where I would
Yeah.
silently tell Rachel, I was like, you got to go turn off the TV. Like, please, like,
Anything else?
sneak in there and unplug it.
Jeez.
Just unplug it. Have our internet, because we have internet television, right? So I was like, maybe the internet needs to go down for a while, So
I don't know what's going. We're having internet problem. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was visiting my mom and dad this summer. And I think actually it was during a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests and that kind of stuff. And I was still filtering. And my dad liked to listen to this one program like at noon every day, even just sometimes just the headlines. But it's something that they listened to when I was growing up. And the person's voice is like, it's very anxiety ridden for me. And it's not her fault. It's her voice. And it's the things that I've heard her say in the last 20 years. Yeah. And I had to tell him, you know what, like, you don't even need to listen to those headlines. It's not going to do anybody in this house any good. It'll all be there tomorrow. Like, when I'm here, I cannot hear her. And he respected that. My mom and dad are very open-minded and
that's good.
Understand and helped and, all that stuff. But I've had to call him a couple times this year and be like, remember, don't listen to the headlines today or tomorrow or like whatever, just so you need to ignore it.
Hey, I used to teach media framing at the University of Iowa. I have like, my secret past is that I have a master's degree in journalism as well. And,
I know, I love that.
Yeah, and so I used to teach media framing, to graduate students, and it is hard for me to watch anything. I mean, I can't do it anymore because all I'm doing is looking at the framing, looking at the messaging, dissecting what's going on, and it's I just can't do it. It's like nothing but just a big ball of stress that gets right here, and I just can't do it.
It's tough, but I think the take-home message here is,
gonna bring it home.
No, it's good. No, it works out because I mean, if you have this awareness of something that's causing just this major stress, whether you understand why or not, for you to be able to take that power into yourself for that control and set that boundary and be like, I just can't. Like, I will stay informed these other ways, but like, that makes me anxious and I don't want to be involved with that. And for you to put yourself first and set that boundary, you go, girl. I love it. And it's hard. I mean, setting boundaries can be tough, but you're doing it for you, and that's all that really matters. I think.
Me and my kids, and those those are my big why, basically, is my kids and my husband and family, and to be able to do things with them and for the long term. So.
And we had the big why, not contest, that's not the word, but Natalie's first assignment on Monday, right, was to post a picture that represents your big why. And I'm pretty sure that everything that I've seen has been just pictures of, family and kids. I think that's pretty much what it is, for almost everybody. And it's tough as a parent to remember to put yourself first, right? I mean, because of course you want to put your kids first, but you have to go through that conditioning to say, well, if mom or dad goes down, put your oxygen mask on. If we go down first, I'm going to put the oxygen mask on the kids. Who's going to take care of them? And it's so hard to recondition. I mean, I was raised to be a martyr. I was raised to give my shirt off my back to a total stranger, contribute till it hurts, and I think it served me well. I mean, I think it served me well as a human being to have those ethics, growing up. But it's been really hard to recondition, even in my 40s. To recondition and say, you know what, I've got to put myself first, because otherwise, what use am I to anybody? And that's a tough lesson to learn. And I hope people don't have to learn it the hard way. Just take wherever you are with your health. My advice is start now. Even if you're the healthiest person on the planet, we have some really healthy people that just come to us because they want to stay healthy or make sure there's nothing lurking in the background. No matter where you are on that health continuum, take advantage. Jump in now, because left unchecked, things tend to be progressive, if you know what I mean. Boy, that was a downer.
I know, no, but it's okay. I mean, it's a good message, I think. And I mean, there's always something that, I mean, none of us are perfect, so there's always a way that we can improve. But I love that, it's interesting to me how, so EPIC stands for empowering the person to impact the community, and I feel like it's just so powerful to like have people come in and they're like, I am here to help myself. I want to be my best self so I can give my best self to my loved ones. And yeah, I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but I
Mhm.
know it can be so hard. But even like Gina, just the word empowerment, I feel like that, like, there's not really a better word for it than
Mm-mm.
empowerment. I don't, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, but I think here, guys. So I was curious. Well, okay, pause. So every day we've had like a post and no question that we've posted, and today our question is going to be
Oh
let me,
yeah,
I wrote it down here. It's going to be,
good one.
how can functional medicine help you learn more about your body, or what could you do to learn more about your body? And Gina, I'd love to hear if you had, the biggest piece of advice or the biggest thing you've learned, any like big takeaway message that you just want to hit home. What would that message be for anyone that's listening today?
That's a great question.
I know it's a big one. I didn't
And I will try to
prep
not
you
say
for
too
that
many things.
beforehand.
That's
No, it's
okay.
okay. Whatever you've got.
I mean, I think like the number one thing would be to be open-minded.
Yeah.
And following from that, like, be willing to try anything. Like, start from where you are
Hmm.
and take steps in the direction that you know to be the right one. And if then you find a Dr. Bradley who says, well, you're going sort of off to the side here, let's redirect forward. Be willing to try those next steps and be willing to redirect if necessary. And just try to make the best choices that you can. I mean, I know I don't always make the right ones, and even know
See,
in the moment sometimes, this probably isn't quite the best one, but
mhm.
I want to eat cream cheese today or whatever it is, like that
Yeah,
kind of thing. But I
sometimes.
know that I'm not going to eat very much, and I'm going to redirect and
Mhm.
get on with the next thing. But
Exactly.
being open-minded and put your oxygen mask on first. Like, I
Absolutely.
fly enough to have, that's been told to me enough, especially flying with kids. Yeah, how are they going to save themselves on this plane that's going down if I can't help them?
Yeah.
I
Plus,
guess those would be my big ones. There's
and
plenty
plus
more,
those
but yeah.
those
Right.
kids will model too. I mean, and that's the thing that I
Oh
always
yeah.
try to
Hmm.
really emphasize to
Right.
parents is that, it's one thing. I mean this out of love. Boy, I'm going to get myself in hot water here. I already hear it coming.
Stir in the pot. No, I'm kidding. I'm
I'm
kidding.
not
It's
trying
good.
to.
It's important. Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
important, right? Because I mean, if the actions that we take as parents are basically the same actions our kids, I mean, that's what they're going to grow up to as their norm, and they're going to grow
Mhm.
into us, right? So somebody
Mhm.
told me a long time ago, be the type of person that you want your kids to grow up to be. I mean, right? And actually, somebody said what really hit home was be the type of person that you want your kid to date, right? And I have two girls, and I was like,
Ooh,
boy, that's a
that's a tough
That
one.
was a big one.
it's a really good one, right? So, and I don't want to leverage that. I don't want to, oops, 1 second. I don't want to say any, much more about that. I think we all get it, but
Mhm.
the choices that we make as adults and as parents, those kids are just going to model it. And that's where we start to see
Right.
generational issues, is because it's
Mhm.
not so much, it is genetics, but it's also generational environmental choices, right? I mean, food choices, movement choices, hydration choices, stress reduction
Right.
choice, management choices, sleep choices. The emphasis that we put on health is the emphasis that our children will put on health, unless they have their own
Mhm.
come to Jesus moment. And who
Right.
wants that for their kid?
Mm, yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
really,
Mhm.
maybe a
Right.
few crazy people out there, but I mean, I don't think that most parents
Yeah.
want that for their children. I mean, I want my babies to just have wonderful, wonderful lives. So it's funny though, because our younger daughter, she's 16 and hangs out with 16-year-olds, right? And she was talking to her friend the other day. I almost said her name, but I won't say her name. She was talking to her friend the other day, and her friend has, doesn't have to work very hard to look healthy. And so she
Mhm.
eats whatever she wants. And here's my daughter over there saying, like, you're 16 years old now, but when you're 25, this is what's going to happen to your metabolism. And I like totally like schooling that kid. And I was like, you go, girl. I mean,
Yes, that's my daughter.
baby right there. You tell her like it is.
I love
Awesome.
it. Oh, but it's so good. And I think the best part too is you can literally start anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. Like there's something that you can do, even if it's just hydration. Work on your hydration, or go on a daily walk, get outside, get some sunlight,
Yeah.
focus on your sleep routine. Literally, there's so many ways you can start, and just, yeah,
That
start
sounded a lot like
figuring out
the
what's
Epic
best for
Five, by
you.
the way. That sounded a lot
Yeah.
like
That is
the
the
Epic Five.
It is. I mean, those are the most important modifiable lifestyle changes that are going to make the biggest difference. So, but again, there's a lot of them that, are easier to make than others. I know diet can be overwhelming. So if you're not ready to, go all in there, do something that you are comfortable with that's going to support
Absolutely.
you and, your long-term health.
Well, and they've done studies where making one healthy choice tends to lead to making other healthy choices,
Mhm.
and which is pretty cool. So it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't even matter where you start. It could
Right.
be, I'm gonna take 1 minute out of this entire day, this existence that I have
Yep.
today, from wake to sleep. I'm gonna take 1 minute and breathe, just breathe, and
Yep.
just focus on my breath. It
That's
doesn't
it.
cost anything except a minute, and you're gonna get so much value out of it. And they found that even just doing that 1 minute of breath tends to lead to other healthy choices, right? Drinking, one bit of water instead of having that Pepsi,
Mhm.
is going to lead to other healthy choices. And
Yep.
I think that's the cool thing about the Epic Five is there's so many areas that you can intervene.
Right.
Good luck with the sunlight today, at least in Iowa, but
Right. I know. Yeah, it's gonna snow a little later. It quit now, but and Dr. B, I know we chatted too. So at Epic, we have something called the Epic 5x5 self-assessment. So basically, we rank exactly the 5 pillars. So diet, hydration, movement, stress management, and sleep. And you get to rank it and give yourself a score each month on,
Yep.
okay, I've kicked butt in hydration. I'm doing, hitting my goal every day, no variance. I'm a 5. Or, maybe you're a 3 in movement, and you can, again, no matter
Yeah.
where you're at, there's always, again, even if it's just one small step.
Yep.
What's his name? James Clear in the book Atomic Habits, which highly recommended if you haven't read it.
Yep.
It's like one of our favorite books collectively as a team. But he talks about getting 1% better every day. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but that adds up over time. So if you're just focusing on what's one small step I can take today to reprioritize myself, and like you said, it's like a domino effect. It'll keep going, and
Yep.
you've just gotta just keep pushing. You can do
Hey,
it.
I think if you think about it this way, some people are like, that's not a whole lot though, 1% every day. Hey, I promise you that if you could give me 1% return on $1 every single day going forward,
Yup.
it would be a lot of money at some point. It doesn't take very
Mhm.
long for that to add up, right? I mean,
Right.
it can become a massive return. And I've said this before. I've been quoted saying this. I have never met anybody on their deathbed saying, "Man, I wish I wouldn't have taken such good care of myself." Boy, was that wasted money and time.
Yeah.
I should have totally lived a life of debauchery. I mean, nobody says that. And it's if we look at the bankruptcies in America, if we look, I mean, I could go on and on, right? I think prioritizing self, and I love that Gina, I mean, figured it out, right? Because that's really what it comes down to. Once you've figured that piece out, all of a sudden your lens of the way you look at everything changes.
Yeah.
And nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I still have reminders. We talk about hydration. It's the number one thing that we talk about.
Yeah.
I still have reminders on my watch. I don't know if you guys heard that one that go off just a second
Oh, that
ago.
was your water.
Yeah, it's like time to drink water, Dr.
Yep.
Bradley, and I'm like, okay, time to drink, but I'm drinking it, but I
Yeah.
might not be because I might be lost in what I'm doing, and
Mhm.
even with the best intentions and the best knowledge and the wisdom and all of it,
Right.
it still takes that commitment, and you got to figure out what works for you, and
Mhm.
you got to set yourself up for success, and that's what I think our coaches do such a good job of, Natalie being premier coach for sure. We have so many great coaches um, that really help set our clients up for success. And I think that's why we get the success that we do, because we're coming at it from lifestyle medicine, diet, lifestyle, everything that we just talked about,
Yeah.
but we're also coming out at it from internal medicine, like high
Mhm.
level,
Mhm.
very deep dive into internal medicine and genetics. And when you
Right.
combine those two with the right guidance and structure, and support so that it's not overwhelming, and then
Right.
the commitment on the end of the client, it's a
Mhm.
win. It's just a total win. It's transformative. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I'm pat myself on the back a little bit and pat on the back of all of our clients that work so hard and our coaches and our team. It's a cool system. I mean, it was developed because I was falling apart and I needed help and couldn't find it. So I just made a system that worked for me. Just turns out that it works for thousands of people. So,
Right.
right.
And I think just like one final point that even Gina mentioned earlier, I feel like something so special about functional medicine and our clinic, not to like talk us up, but we consider the whole person. Like we're not just, considering this 1, 2 symptoms that you came in with. Like we look at so much, and we look at your day to day, and we look at, your lifestyle and your family and your, you know, insides and everything. And there's just so much that we consider. And yeah, I feel like it means a lot to, you know, the people involved too, because they're actually being listened to, they feel heard. And, even if, progress doesn't come as quickly as, initial expectations, they know that we're still working hard with them every day to try and figure out,
Yeah.
what that root cause is and what's going to help them to be their best self and feel their best. And I don't know. Do you, would you, Gina, how does it make you feel like, just, I don't know, you don't have to talk Epic up, but I just think it's a really important,
But feel free.
discrepancy. I know. Yeah. And I know we're
Um,
coming close to the end, but yeah, that just came to mind, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
well, it's no longer just me and sometimes, my mom doing research and advocating for me. There's a doctor behind me now that's got whatever 3 PhDs or whatever it is you have, Dr. Bradley. Plus, he researches every day. He doesn't just
Right.
sit on his laurels and trust what he learned 15 years ago.
Right.
He's continuing to educate himself every day, which is what I'm trying to do as well. And I don't have a medical background, so I can't interpret things as well. So having somebody there that can interpret what does this lab mean? Like, okay, so someone told me to run that. Great, I have a number. What does that mean to me? But he can interpret that. And then to have Dan email me, hey, you haven't filled out your weekly system assessment. Go ahead and do that so I can be involved for you,
Right.
and those kinds of things. And everybody else who's there to answer questions and all the stuff is, and
I
you need
love
a little
Dan, by
poke
the way.
sometimes. It's
Yeah.
great.
And it's out of love. We know that,
Right.
and within the health coach realm, like our job is not to judge you and point out all the things you're not doing. Like that is not why we're here. We're here to motivate you and figure out,
Yeah.
if there is something that's not going right, why is that? What can we do to, make it work well? And yeah, it's there's just a lot. We're going
Yeah.
back to gushing,
I
but
know.
yeah,
I could gush
I
on
just think
you guys for
it's
sure.
really cool. And I wonder, so before we kind of wrap up, we're getting close to the end of our time here, and I just want to remind everyone that all of the recordings from this week will be on YouTube. I'll be sure to post that, along with we'll have like an ebook, just kind of a guide of what we covered from this week. But yeah, if you guys ever want to know more about what Epic's doing or how to get involved, you're in the right place within this community. And again, thank you so much, Gina, for
Thank you,
just telling
Gina.
us more about your experience. And as you can tell by our energies, you've inspired us again today. So seriously, just thank
Thanks for
you for
having
being
me.
involved. Of course. And
Yeah.
before we, cut out Dr. B, do we have any final words? I definitely want to give some lip service to our event next month real quick before
Oh
we cut
yeah.
out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have you know what, I'll let you talk about that, but we do have a really cool workshop coming up on 12th of February. Is that right? 12th of February?
February 12th.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's less
Yep.
than a month away right now. It's going to be on a Friday. It's from
Woo!
roughly 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to have speakers and some movement, and we have a breathing expert from Australia that's going to do some breathing exercises with us. He gets flown around the world to do this with top level executives, and just a
Cool.
buddy of mine. So he's just going to help us out, which is pretty cool. We have a lot of it's going to be a really cool day-long workshop, and I hope that everybody can join us. Everybody that's my private client, of course, and then everybody in the Epic 5 community gets a free ticket. I mean, or at least as many as we can give away. We do have only room for 100 seats in that conference. So it is kind of first come, first serve. And Nat, I'm sure that you'll drop the link for people to make sure to register.
Yep. Yeah. So the link, we have an event created on the public Epic Functional Medicine page, just so we can, get more people involved there. So if you head over, I'll make sure I'll post about it this afternoon too,
Cool.
just to make sure you guys are aware of where that's at and how to register for that Zoom link. But yeah, it's going to be a all day long thing. We're going to talk more about all things Epic 5 and just chat more about what we're all about, and we'll have kind of some Q&A time with, I believe, Dr. B, and a separate Q&A with the coaches. Like
Yep.
Dr. B said, we're having movement coaches, a couple yoga experts that are gonna maybe walk us through some movement, but also just talk to us more about what we could do today to get started on taking control of
Yep.
our health. So yeah, we're just excited, and again, I'll post some more information about that this
It's gonna be a
afternoon. But
blast. Yeah, it's our first
yeah,
one we've ever put together. So I mean, I'm super excited about it, and
right.
I just can't wait for it. It's gonna be a really fun time.
It is gonna be. But yeah, I think we're that kind of covers it for today. And again, Gina, thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Gina.
joining. And anyone that's, watched this, and Melissa who's here in our Zoom, thanks for
Yeah,
joining and commenting. We just appreciate everyone that's, participated and watched, and hopefully you enjoyed our week of wellness, and hopefully you learned some things. And yeah, let's all take control of our health. We can do it.
we
I
can
know we
do
can
it.
do it. I love it. Awesome. Well, have a great afternoon, everyone, and
Love you
and
guys.
we'll chat with you guys later.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Bye bye.
Bye bye.